Hey, and happy Saturday. Usually, as you can see, I'm sitting on the floor. Usually when I'm sitting on the floor, it's an ab day. I wanted to talk about abs, but today, actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about the carnivore diet. So I read, of course it's backwards because of the camera, but I read this book, The Carnivore Code, by Dr. Paul Saladino. Now, I had heard him on a podcast, and I thought what he had to say was pretty interesting. And I'd heard about the carnivore diet a little bit, and I thought it was kind of intriguing. But I really liked the way he described it, and that he had, it wasn't as necessarily as strict as some other diets. It is strict, but it was interesting. So I just wanted to do kind of talk about the carnivore diet and just kind of do a little review of, my own take on this book. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so, he knows a lot. Obviously, I refer to the experts on these subjects, but I just want to give my take. So, and I also had a client the other day mention that her husband wanted to do the carnivore diet and he's starting it, and she was asking me, she's like, is he gonna die? And I'm like, no, he's not gonna die. Everything will be fine. So anyway, so this book's about the first, it's broken up kind of into thirds. And the first third is basically all about plants and how bad they are for you. So that's kind of interesting. You don't really hear that even in other diets. You don't hear about, the plant compounds and the compounds that are supposedly really good for us. Dr. Saladino, says are actually not that great for us. And he goes into how, the plants, they don't want us to eat them, and so they have these compounds in them that are actually bad for our guts, bad for our systems. And it's kind of, and it was interesting. Got things that phytonutrients and things that we typically think of as healthy, he claims are actually not. And so that was really interesting. Some things I had heard of, some things I hadn't. But it was very, the first several chapters are very anti-plant. So I don't know that I'm necessarily as anti-plant as that. But it definitely gives you some things to think about in terms of how much plant material you eat and which parts of the plant you eat and that kind of thing. And then it goes into the second part is basically goes into the differences between the plant food and animal food, and how much better animal food is for us, not just meats, but also not just muscle meat, but also organ meat and bone broth and basically everything. And his thing is a nose to tail diet plan. And again, I thought it was really interesting and dispelling, and he dispels a bunch of myths, a lot of which I had heard of before, that, red meat, and especially red meat, and animal fat has been vilified for a very long time. And I have done some previous, videos on, the macronutrients and, is fat going to kill you and that kind of thing. So you can refer back to those videos. But, he basically, dispels the myths and goes into a lot more detail about why things like LDL being high in the absence of insulin resistance, for example, is not a bad thing. And actually can be seen as, it plays a really strong role in the immune system, and so it's protective, and those are the parts of this book that I found actually the most interesting, and also how, and this is kind of new information. I think another study just recently came out, having studied ancient human bones. They can measure I'm not exactly sure what it, I don't know the details, but suffice it to say that they can measure some specific compound within the bones to basically give an idea of what the person ate. And they've done this study with a bunch of ancient human bones, and they have found that ancient humans, basically ate nothing but meat. We're very strict carnivores in our past evolution, and he goes into that in a lot of detail. And I also find that really interesting. I love stuff about ancient humans, and being a huge fan of the Clan of the Cave Bear books. So, but anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But so yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and how humans basically evolved eating meat, and our brains grew bigger because of that. And when we actually started agriculture, when we started farming, our brains actually shrank a little bit when we started eating more plant material. And I thought that was really interesting. So there's that. And then the last third of the book is basically how to eat a carnivore diet. He goes into a little bit of specifics of what a typical day of eating carnivore might be. And he has, I believe, 5 tiers. The tier 1 is meat and some fruits like berries and avocados. The less dangerous, less harmful fruits. But basically no nuts, no grains, no root vegetables, nothing like that. Because those are, no leaves or stems. Those are the parts of the plant that the plant really doesn't want you to eat. No seeds. Which kind of makes sense. Those are the parts of the plant that, the plants really don't want you to eat because you're going to kill it to eat it. And those would be the parts that have more toxins in them, if you will. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And and then there's the second tier, which is a really strict, that he doesn't recommend for long term, which is actually the type of diet that I don't know if any of you know who Jordan Peterson is, but he's kind of famous for being on this really strict, only beef. He basically only eats steak, salt, and water. And he has been doing it for years. Him and his daughter have been doing it for years. But it can be a really good reset, and then adding things in gradually to see what bothers you, an elimination diet. And then there's 3 more tiers, and basically they kind of get stricter and stricter until you're eating basically nothing but meat, organ meat, bone, fat, all just complete animal products. And then he goes a little bit into the environmental factors of it, and how it's really not as bad for the environment as we are led to believe, which I completely believe. I don't think that eating meat is as bad for the environment as a lot of environmentalists would have you believe, and that actually eating nothing but plant material is worse for the environment than they would have you believe. Being, things like monocrop agriculture is really, really bad. Horrible for the environment, actually. And we use up a lot of fresh water for that as well. So, you're also depleting water, which he actually did not. I mean, maybe I missed it, but I don't think he went into actually that at all. And, he goes into how it's and then he goes into, actually, this part was also, I found really, really interesting, was how a lot of people can have, a carnivore diet has been shown to be really, really good for people with autoimmune issues and diseases, and a lot of inflammation. So obviously on a carnivore diet, if you're overweight, you're probably going to lose weight. You are in ketosis it's not a keto diet per se, but you are in ketosis when you're on the diet. And I just thought it was really interesting. He goes into a lot of different diseases that, everything from like eczema to type 1 diabetes to gut health issues like celiac disease and all those kinds of autoimmune diseases. And I thought that was really, really interesting, that a lot of people that decided to go the carnivore diet route were able to essentially cure those diseases with the diet. Now, I would not recommend it. I could see it as being something to try, obviously with the input of your doctor. But I could see the carnivore diet being really, really beneficial. And that's why, like Jordan Peterson, his daughter went on this extreme elimination diet was for those reasons, for autoimmune issues, and anxiety and depression and that kind of thing. And they were able to, it helped them quite a bit, which is why they're still on it. And so I know anecdotally of people that have done this and had great success with it. And I think that that's probably, if you're finding that you're not feeling well, I think it's at least worth a try. I am going to start trying it. I think I like the idea of it, and I have been eating a lot more beef. I'm kind of a new to beef person. I didn't eat beef for a very, very long time, and I'm getting back into it. And so as I've been trying to kind of work my way slowly, I'm not doing it all at once, work my way slowly into a carnivore diet. Like last night, so for example, last night I had like a pile of shredded beef that I had done in the slow cooker all day yesterday, which was really good, with like plenty of salt on it. And then I did have a little bit of salad. I'm not cutting out vegetables entirely yet. I also really like to grow vegetables, so I don't know. We'll see. And I woke up this morning with kind of a bad headache. I don't know why. I had a really hard time shaking it. Now it could have been, I had a glass and a half of wine before I went to bed, but a glass and a half of wine really shouldn't give me a splitting headache. Which wine and beer are one of the things he says to stay away from. So like I said, I'm not on the carnivore diet quite yet, but working towards it. So there was that. But like I said, I don't think that should have really caused a headache. It was kind of felt like a tension headache, but I hadn't really done anything that would warrant a tension headache. So I'm not really sure why I have one, and I haven't had one in a very long time. So that was interesting. I thought, well, I'll eat and then I'll feel better. So for breakfast, I had 3 eggs over leftover shredded beef and several strips of bacon. And I did have my green tea, which is one of those things that I don't think I'm going to be able to live without. I love my green tea. I have 1 cup a day, and it just kind of perks me up in the morning. I can't help it. I love it. So anyway, and tea is, again, one of the things not to eat. But I can't imagine, I don't know. I can't imagine people didn't want to drink something other than water. But maybe we're just, as modern humans, used to drinking other things other than water, and so water's boring to us. Though, for the most part, I drink almost nothing else besides water. So but I had that like nagging headache and I couldn't, and then I thought, well, maybe I didn't have enough salt. So I drank some water with salt in it, which is, I don't know if anyone else has tried it, but disgusting. And people say to do that. And, I listen to Mind Pump and I know that they've mentioned doing that. And Dr. Saladino mentions doing that. And I have tried it a couple times and it's gross, but I choked it down. So I was like, well, I need more salt, I think. It didn't help. And then, so for lunch, I had a plate with some cheese and some fruit, berries, which are okay on the tier 5 carnivore diet, and a little bit of some salami. And after I ate that, my headache went away. And I don't know, maybe I had just worked out whatever was going on in my shoulders or whatever by that time, but it was kind of, and I did take some ibuprofen, but I had taken ibuprofen early in the day and it didn't do anything. So I think the thing is about diets in general is to do what makes you feel physically the best. Now I like the idea of the carnivore diet, but I also don't like the idea of restricting myself to things that, I'm not a huge fan of like super restrictive diets. So, I'm kind of fighting with that within myself right now. Really the only things that I have had in the last 24 hours that haven't been carnivore have been the green tea and the wine. Everything else pretty much has been. So, but like I said, once I ate the fruit, I felt good. And I am very, very active and I'm not used to going without carbs. And so maybe it will just take me some time to get used to that, which I would imagine would be a very big, change for me. And I have since worked out as well. And I felt great working out. Didn't think I was going to, but actually felt terrific. So, I don't know, it's only been 24 hours really. And I'm trying to, So I'm just trying to ease my way into it, eat a lot more protein, a lot more eggs and beef and other meats, that, making that the bulk of my diet as opposed to making carbs the bulk of my diet, which is what I have previously been doing. So it might take some time to adjust for my body to adjust to that. But yeah, I thought this is really an interesting read. If you like if you really like going deep into the science of it, it's really interesting. Like some of it can get a little heavy with like he gets really deep into the, like I said, the science of how these chemicals are broken down within the body and what they do he goes into it on a microscopic level, and even more than a microscopic level at times. So if you like that kind of thing, I would highly recommend it. It's definitely very interesting. And I enjoyed reading it. So in the end, I had suggested, and this has been my longest video in a while. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps. I hope, it gives you some insight into the carnivore diet, which I had a little bit of knowledge of, but not a lot. And this definitely helped solidify that for me. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you all probably sometime next week for another video. I'll try to make it an actual workout video for you. And you can, please hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to my channel. I have been, inching up, growing kind of steadily, which is nice. Thank you all very much, everyone who has subscribed thus far. I really appreciate it. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram as well. And I will see you all another time. Bye.